Hello, hello, welcome everybody. My name is Joey Kramer, and thanks for tuning in today on the Mental Health Warriors Network. We are going to have a fantastic show today, and we're going to talk about the stories that we tell and how we live in our past. And I'm going to do the opening scene here, and then we'll welcome people to the show, and we'll get this show on the road. All right, talk to you in a second. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. As I said, my name is Joey Kramer, and you're watching the stories we tell ourselves. And today I wanted to go over an important topic and really was inspired yesterday. Actually, I got to talk with a good friend of mine. He called to check in, see how I've been doing lately. I haven't been real active on social media lately. Really for about the last month and a half, 2 months, I've been really feeling the need to take a break, to get out of kind of the chaos that's going on in the world right now, going on with, everything around us. Seems like it's just kind of crazy at the moment. And have been feeling the need and the urge to kind of cocoon myself, kind of go within and isolate a little bit. And I know a lot of you have felt the same way. And, so today's show, hey, Adam, what's going on, my brother? Great show on Monday, by the way. Proud of you. Embrace who you are and what you are. It's a bright future ahead, and you just got to keep pushing forward, knowing the end game, knowing what you want out of life, knowing what you want out of this moment. So, but yeah, today I wanted to talk about, a big problem. I think that many people in the mental health, many people that suffer from mental health issues and whatnot, I think a big problem that we deal with is the idea of living in the past, and how living in the past actually is creating the present moment, and it's creating the future for us. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to kind of dive into it deep today and go over some of these ideas and some of how our mind works. I think that's the biggest unknown when it comes to mental health and understanding mental health is the mind is so powerful, and we don't even understand a fraction of how it works. So when we realize that our thoughts are creating our present moment, they're creating our reality, it gives us a power, makes us superhuman when we can control those thoughts, when we can start to understand the power that lies within our minds. And so many of us get stuck. We get stuck in the idea of the past. How many people out there wish they could go back and change a moment or an event, something that's happened to us, something that's been, a major point, a major moment in our lives. And we wish we could go back, so many of us, and try to change that experience, try to change what happened. And the fact is, we physically cannot go back, obviously, and rewrite the story. We can't change what happened. We can only change the perception of what happened. And for me, like I said, the topic of today's show, we're going to talk about how so many of us live in that past memory. We live with regret. We live with, shame and guilt because of something that's happened to us. And as we continue to live in it, as we continue to beat ourselves up over that moment, over that memory, which is only a memory. But as we continue to beat ourselves up over that memory, it brings us further and further down. It traps us in a constant state of regret. It traps us in a constant state of living in the past. We can't get through and we can't move forward into the present moment, let alone the future, if we're continuing to live in the past. What'd you say here, Adam? Adam says, what does the subconscious mind look like when dealing with the traumatic past? For those that don't know or are struggling, the subconscious mind is so powerful. It's controlling 98% of our reality. It's controlling, if you break it down into the simplest form, how do we know how to breathe? How does our heart know how to keep beating? How does our food know how to digest? How does everything inside of our body know how to function without thinking about it? How does it work each and every day? That's through our subconscious mind. That's through our body programming itself to do these functions. They're vital for us to survive, but we don't have to think about them. Our subconscious mind is creating, is actually telling our conscious, our physical body to breathe in, exhale out, to pump your heart and that blood over and over. All of these things are happening without us consciously having to think about them. Now, where we trip up is we allow our conscious mind to start thinking about things in the past, things that literally do not exist anymore, but they have such power over us that we focus on them over and over and over again, and what I was saying earlier was I got inspired really for this show. I don't ever, very rarely do I ever put together an outline for a show and put a whole lot of effort into a show, because an amazing thing happens almost every single time before I do any show, before I do any interview. And that is, I get an inspiration that comes to me in a moment, and it reveals everything that I need to or I want to share on that show, literally without having to put forth the effort. It's as if, when I accept it and I'm ready for it, it comes to me. And yesterday I got to talk to a great friend. He's a motivational, inspirational speaker down in Texas, Daniel Gomez. Great buddy, great friend, great warrior, and he was checking in on me yesterday because he hadn't heard from me in a while. Like I said, I'd been off social media for basically the last couple months, and he wanted to make sure everything was going all right. And talking to him, he got to telling me about how busy he's been, especially with school just starting for all the kids around the country. He said he's been literally doing talks and giving speeches every single day this week. And he's been going out and talking to high school and middle school kids and getting in front of them and going over and really talking about mental health, in a sense. He revealed to me, when his speaking career, when his journey really just started to skyrocket on him, was when he started talking about his attempted suicide. And I didn't even know this about him. And I could relate to him because I too had attempted suicide just before my 21st birthday. And, I was moments away from not making it, thanks to the doctors and the ER nurses and everybody. They brought me back to life. And I could really relate to that story. And he told me and shared with me how important it is right now, and how many schools are just looking for speakers at this point in time to come out and to talk with their students about mental health, about suicides, about, their traumas. We've just come out of 2 years of lockdowns. And if you guys haven't seen the headlines and the data that's coming out now, it's mind blowing as far as the effects and the trauma that has taken place on our children because of the isolation, because of the fear that was pumped into them, because of these lockdowns, because of, 6 feet apart, all of these things, which I knew 2 years ago, and I've been saying for 2 years now, how much trauma and how much healing these children, our future, how much healing they're going to need because of what they went through, what they experienced. And apparently it's revealing itself now. It's coming through in the science, in the data, in the studies. They're revealing the amount of damage that was done to our future generation, our children, is unthinkable. So, talking about this subject, talking about mental health issues is such a vital and necessary part of society right now. It's up to us to help heal the children. It's our responsibility to to rewrite the wrongs that had been done to them because they're confused. They don't know. They trusted in the authority and the higher power. They trusted in the system. They trusted in their teachers. They trusted in, the doctors, and they all steered them wrong. They all told them to do the exact opposite of what they needed to be doing. And in return, it has damaged them so much. So yeah, it's our responsibility. And through that conversation with him, I didn't mean to get off track there, but yeah, through that conversation with him, it made me realize how powerful my story was. And I wanted to talk about this idea of living in the past today. And I kind of put it all together, literally in about 5-10 minutes of brainstorming yesterday after talking with him. And, I realized, how many stories do I have in the past that I've lived with and that I've dwelled on, that I've really, they were some of the main reasons I've suffered for many years in the past, suffered from depression, from, attempted suicides. It was those stories, it was those regrets, like I said, I attempted real suicide just before my 21st birthday and woke up the next day in intensive care and came out of a coma at that point, but there were 2 other times in my early 30s that, things weren't going well for me. I was going through a divorce, and, I almost, I guess, around the age of 26, I had a friend who I called him up one night. I was sitting in my family room, alone by myself drinking, which, for those of us with mental health issues and addictions, that's about the worst thing we can do is be by ourselves and getting drunk or getting high or whatever it is, because it allows those stories to really start to creep in and they start to overwhelm us, and we start to relive that past moment, that past experience. And, thanks to the grace of God, my best friend, he came over and he got my gun from me and took it home, and, he didn't give it back for quite a while. But that very well could have saved my life at that point. And there was another time, I think I was 30, maybe 33 or so, 32, 33, about 10 years ago, when I was going through that divorce. And same thing, up late one night, probably 1, 2 in the morning, sitting alone, drunk, with the gun in my mouth at that point in time, staring down a barrel of a gun is it's a pivotal moment in our lives. You start to question everything. You start to question the purpose. You start to question why. Why have things happened the way they've happened? And how did I get here? How did I get to this point that it's thinking it's that bad, that it can't be fixed? When did I lose faith, I guess? When had I lost faith in God, in a higher power? Back then I didn't I didn't understand the concept how everything is always working for us. I didn't understand that idea. I hadn't even grasped it, 10 years ago. But luckily I got through it. Luckily, God was leading me that night and gave me the power to put that gun down and to reset everything and just go to bed. And I woke up the next day. Was I feeling great? Probably not. But I wasn't at that point, where everything was lost again. Adam asked, what has the past taught you for the present and the future? Yeah, my past. That's the biggest thing about the past is it's always there to teach us. What was it? What happened? What was the meaning behind it? Why did it happen to me in that way? Why did I experience sexual abuse? Why did I experience abandonment at birth? Why did I go through years and years and years of addictions, alcohol, drugs, sex? You know, you threw it at me. I was doing it. Um, you know, Sports injuries. I blew my knee out my senior year. I had a whole vision of my future. I was going to go to college. I was going to walk on and be a football star in college. Um, the stars didn't align though. I blew my knee out and my sports career was over at that point. And there was a lot of times back then, why did that happen? What was the purpose? What was the meaning? And I didn't understand them back then. Why did I have I I I was blessed, I guess you could say, with Tourette's syndrome when I developed that, in my early teenage years. Why did I get blessed with that? And I think that's a big key right there in the way we use our words. I could have said, why did I get cursed with having Tourette's syndrome? But instead, I get to say, I get to ask the question, why was I blessed with having Tourette's syndrome? Has it been easy? Hell no. It's not fun. It's really annoying. It's embarrassing. But there's a beauty in it. The beauty is I got to experience all of those things. Everything I just listed, I got to experience all of those things happening to me. And by experiencing them, I got to learn. I was able to learn from them. I was able to learn, more about who I was. I was able to learn more about overcoming obstacles, about learning to love myself, learning to deal with the things that have happened to me, the past traumas, the experiences, instead of feeling shame about them, instead of being sad and depressed about the things that happened, I was able to start to shift my mindset into a mindset of gratitude, into a mindset of thankful that these experiences happened to me because now I'm here. I'm here with you guys. I'm here sharing my experiences. I'm here telling my stories, my successes. You know, I've overcome the majority of my demons, and it hasn't been easy. It's been a lifelong struggle. I guess, should I say struggle? There's using our language, our words inappropriately. I tend to catch myself often, you know, using the lessons, using the experiences in my life. I've been learned to be grateful for each of them because, like I said, they've taught me something that I wouldn't have discovered about myself had I not experienced them. And I think that's the key. The key is embracing who you are in your unique, amazing, magical way. God made you just the way you are. And he put you here to experience all these different obstacles, all these different moments of our lives. He put us here to either understand and seek the meaning and to heal from them, or to ignore them, to push them off, to dwell on them. You can either overcome them, or you can get trapped in them. And like I said, that's kind of the theme of today's show, is when we live in those moments of the past, we can either be grateful for them, or we can dwell on them. And I think with mental health, the struggle we have is we've never been taught how to accept them. They try and pump people full of drugs. They try and, send us to therapists to talk about these feelings, to talk about why it happened, but they never really help us for the most part. They never really help us get past what happened. And, by bringing it up, by reliving it over and over again, we're only creating a perpetual existence, a perpetual reality of living in that moment. If you were abused, what good does it do to continue to bring up that abuse, continue to relive that abuse, if it's not healing you? Sure, accepting it by talking about it, that's good, but is that going far enough? Are we actually solving, are we getting to the bottom of the problem, or are we just reliving it over and over and over again, keeping us in that perpetual state of being that? If we relate to our past experiences, the bad ones, we can either relate to them as identifying, they are me, I am that trauma, I am that abuse, or we can look at the past experiences as an isolated instance that we experienced. It wasn't us. I think that's a big key right there, is our past experiences, our past traumas. They don't make us who we are, in a sense. They don't make our identity. They simply are a moment. It simply is a moment that we experienced, that we went through, and we either grew from it, or it trapped us even further within. It kept us stuck in that loop. So how do we get out of this perpetual mindset, this perpetual thinking and reliving of our past? How do we get through it? How do we push through to rewrite that story? How do we push through to see the great, to be grateful, to see the blessing in the perceived curse? It starts with being honest with ourselves. Number one, honesty, knowing that, again, God is working always for us. God is always working in our best interest. We just don't always see it that way. So when we start to accept that, when we start to be honest with ourselves, when we start to realize and be honest in knowing that that experience is not our identity, it's simply that moment in time that we experienced that setback, that obstacle, that trauma, and it takes us into really the next step, is loving yourself. We have to remember to love ourselves unconditionally, because one, and most importantly, we don't know what we don't know. How could we? If we knew what we were supposed to know when we got here, then this whole journey we wouldn't have to go through this journey. But at the end of the day, we came here, we're living this life, and we're here to grow and learn from it. And, my first mentor, he used to always say, the first 100 times we do anything, we're going to suck at it. I don't care what it is. The first 100 times we do anything, we're going to suck. So have some compassion for yourself. Have some compassion in knowing that we're all here learning this lesson of life. We're all here learning from our past experiences. Some of us have much more traumatic pasts than others. Some of us have horrific pasts. But we have to stop blaming ourselves for those experiences, for the things that we went through, because they were put there for us in whatever way so that we could grow. So we have to love ourselves unconditionally, forgive ourselves, because again, we just didn't know, and we still don't know. But the moment we start to awaken and live our lives through that lens, through the idea that how could we have known what we didn't know, and to have compassion for ourselves, to love ourselves unconditionally, it unlocks a superpower within us. It unlocks an ability for us to begin to heal and begin to go back. And again, we're not going back to relive experiences and to relive traumas for the purpose of experiencing them. We're going back to relive and to see the experience from the outside, looking in, to understand the purpose, the meaning of why we went through that. And for everyone, that meaning is different. That purpose is different. That's for you to discover. It's for each of us to understand within our own selves what and why that experience had to happen to us. And the beautiful thing about our minds, our subconscious minds, is we can literally rewrite that story of why and how it happened. We can't change that it did happen. So we know it happened. It's a fact. At one point in time, this terrible experience happened to us. We can't change that. But what we can change is the meaning and the purpose behind why that happened to us. When we start to see it from a different lens, from an outside objective viewer, we can start to reframe. We can start to re-envision the why behind it. And I believe that's where the power lies. That's where the magic lies. Because if we continue to live and re-envision that past moment that's caused us so much pain and shame and guilt, if we live in it and simply just re-experience it, it's going to continue to go into our subconscious mind. It's going to continue to lock in that memory and that experience and solidify it to create your identity. We want to remove that whole aspect that it's attached to our identity. We want to be able to attach something new to that experience. Whether you're 30 years old, 40 years old, 50, 60, it doesn't matter. Go back, re-envision that trauma, as painful as it might be, and then look at where you are today. Look at what you've learned and grown from it. Look at the impact you might be able to have on others because of what you went through. Remember, you're unique. Your story's so unique. You're the only one that's experienced your story in the exact way that you're experiencing it. So you're the only one that can tell your story and share that story with others, because nobody else will ever have that exact similar story. That's what makes you so special. That's what makes you so unique, and that you are a one of a kind. Now, when we start to reframe that experience in that mindset and that how special it was that you got to experience that. Now we start to look outwards and see, how can that experience, how can that trauma, how can that moment that you went through that changed your life, how can that apply to the external world? How can you apply that experience for others, to help them heal, to help them grow? We're all wounded. We're all wounded creatures walking around the earth, searching for the answers, trying to understand, you know. And if every one of us out there, especially those of us that have suffered traumas, if we can start to see the beauty in sharing our story and opening up and not being afraid to tell somebody your experience, because to them it might be the exact thing they need to hear at that exact moment. They might be in such a dark place, like I've been multiple times in my life. You know, if I would have heard, if somebody would have came to me and shared with me their experience and how it impacted them and how they grew from it, how they pushed through, how they came out better on the other side, you know, it might have made such a huge difference in my life. It might have kept me from waking up from a coma just before my 21st birthday. But then again, if I hadn't have experienced that, I wouldn't be here probably talking to you today. I wouldn't be here sharing that story with you today and that experience, because I would have went on a different path. I think that's something we need to take into account, is we can't change our path as far as what's already happened. We can only change our path and our direction from this moment forward. So again, let's go back to that trap so many of us live in. So many of us are stuck in. We're on a hamster wheel, just going around in circles, reliving that trauma. And it brings us down deeper and deeper and deeper. It has a stranglehold on so many of us because we can't accept it. We're afraid to face it because we think it's going to be painful. We think it's going to hurt. But the fact is, the pain and the hurt comes from not addressing it. It comes from trying to hide it, from trying to push it down. When we create an environment that we all can freely share, where we all can appreciate each other's uniqueness and the love for one another that we as a species have, we're so special. And when we can start to see that special beauty in each and every one of us, and that we've all had our own experiences of life and appreciate one another, I think we can create an open platform. I think we can create a opportunity for each of us to heal. The healing starts by facing those demons, but they're not demons. Remember, they're just past experiences. We, as humans, we, as our subconscious minds, are the ones that place the meaning on those experiences. And that meaning is literally controlling every aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to admit it or not. Hell, for me, you know, my abandonment at birth by my biological father, I never knew until a couple years ago when I healed from it, when I rewrote everything about it. I never knew in a million years that abandonment at birth would be the ultimate cause of my depression, of my sadness, of my guilt, of my shame, of my struggles with relationships. I allowed that story, I allowed that subconscious trauma to literally write out my future and my present moment. I lived within that sense of abandonment. I lived constantly in a sense of feeling unloved, of feeling unworthy of love. I lived in the idea that I was destined to repeat my past. I was destined to repeat what my biological father had done to me. I figured it was in my DNA, it was in my biology. I would become just like him. And I allowed that false belief, that false perception of the past, I allowed it to come through subconsciously into my reality. It created my present moment of living. It controlled my thoughts and it controlled my actions. It caused me to do things I would never do today. It caused me to think things I would never think today, all because of the way I perceived it and I imagined it to be. And in turn, it created my future. It had control over me. It rewrote or it wrote out my future for me through my subconscious mind without even thinking about it. But when I went back, when I really dove in and I did the hard work, I did the painful work, I healed from it. When I was able to do that, everything changed. Everything shifted almost like that. It allowed me to see the beauty in it all, in the humor in it all. Because for those of you that know me, you know that my biological father that abandoned me at birth, turns out he wasn't even my father. He wasn't even related to me. He was just the guy that married my mom and then left when I was born. My real father was a doctor. My real father gave me the genes and the DNA to be an amazing, intelligent, compassionate, loving, kind, healing person. But I never would have known that had I not. I never would have discovered that had I not gone back and faced my demons and revealed the pain that existed there that I didn't even know existed. So I was allowing that to control my present moment and to control my future. And when I took my power back, the whole world changed. Um, Sports. Let's talk about when I blew my knee out my senior year. I was devastated. I lived. I was an athlete back then, and I focused and put everything into athletics. I loved it. I loved competing, and I injured myself, and I thought, you know what, my sports career's over. I'll never be able to compete like that again. And that's a story I believed for quite a while. But I found myself always pushing, always trying to compete, and always trying to go out, be it in college, intramurals. You know, it got, I even got to the point where I played about 6 years ago. I played on a men's 35 and over hard, fast pitch baseball league and was competing with some studs out there, on the field. And I was way less, athletic than they were. I hadn't played in years, but, I overcame that fear, that stigma, that story that I wasn't an athlete, because I'd blown my knee out in my teenage years, I couldn't compete. And I blew that out of the water. I rewrote that. And I went out there and I played and competed with these guys. And I had so much fun. And I remembered the joy and the fun of being on the field, of playing on a team with a bunch of guys, just, trying to achieve success, trying to win the game. And I rewrote that, and I've injured myself multiple times over the years to the point where I blew my knee out again in February of 2020. And I went back. The present moment was I had blown my knee out, but I went within, I healed myself from within. I used a lot of the techniques of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I reimagined my knee. When I'd meditate, I'd imagine my knee healing itself. I'd imagine that perfect template, that perfect blueprint of my body. When I was born, I reimagined it finding itself again. And through that process, it literally repaired my knee. And over a 2-3 month period, I went from barely being able to walk on my leg or support myself to completely healing it, to where now I'm back to full strength. I work out, I run, I bike, I swim, I lift weights, and it doesn't bother me anymore. And I did that, through going within and remembering that I have such a power within me to create whatever I want to create here. And the point of this, I guess, is if I would have stayed in that mindset, if I would have stayed in that past experience of when I blew my knee out in high school, and that I wasn't an athlete, that I couldn't compete, that my body was weak, that it was frail, that it would break if I tried to push it. If I would have lived in that mindset, then my present reality would have kept me from playing baseball, from running a triathlon a few years ago, from running, 5Ks and exercising, and hell, coaching my kids' baseball and football teams and basketball teams, and getting out and being active with them. I could have chose to live in that mindset of I can't do it, or I could have done what I did, which was believe in myself and believe in my power, and to believe in the fact that I can repair, I can rebuild, I can come back stronger, that my body is so powerful. And that's exactly what I did. And in doing that, I healed. Again, I healed myself. And now I don't let that past trauma control or dictate my present moment or my future that's yet to come. I allow my mind to know I am strong, I am powerful, I am healthy. And that's a great topic right there. How many of you get sick often? How many of you are sick? How many of you have, persistent health problems? I haven't been sick, like really sick, in 25 years. And it's because I tell myself I don't get sick. I've told myself that for 25 years. I don't get sick, and I don't get sick. Now, eating healthy, having a healthy lifestyle, that plays into it. But I can tell you honestly, I'm not great at doing any of those things. Do I eat healthier than most? Probably. Do I still eat junk food? Yeah. Do I partake in, alcohol and have fun still? Yeah. Do I tear my body up more than most? Most definitely. I push my body to the limits, and in return, it provides for me. I'm not afraid to push the limits. But the idea is, if we live in a mindset of our past being that we get sick, that you are sick, even the word saying I am sick goes into our subconscious mind. Don't ever say it. Don't ever say that you are sick. The power of the words, the two words, I am, can change everything about you. They can change everything about your reality and your present moment and your future simply with those two words, saying, I am, whatever you choose to say from that point on. Your mind will believe whatever you tell it, whether it's real or make believe. So, for those of you that live in a mindset of sickness, in a mindset of unhealthiness, in a mindset of chronic, illness, I love you guys and I feel for you guys. I'm compassionate for what you're going through. But it begins in your present moment and your future moment, most importantly, will begin to change when you start to reconstruct, when you start to reimagine and re-envision your idea of who you are from a standpoint of health. Instead of saying I get sick, I am sick, whatever, start to say I am healthy. I live a healthy lifestyle. Even if you don't, even if you drink too much, even if you smoke too much, even if you overeat, even if you don't work out, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you tell your mind. What matters is what you put into your subconscious mind. It will believe it when you persist and you continue with it over and over again. I am healthy. I enjoy working out. I love eating healthy foods, whatever that may be. I am perfect in my body. I am an ideal, healthy person, whatever you want to say. These are affirmations. These are incantations you can use. But the idea is to build that muscle in your mind based on what you believe you are right now, what you believe you will become in the future, and get out of the way of what you think you are based on your past. Whatever you were yesterday, you are not today. Whatever you were a year ago, you are not that today. 10 years ago, 30 years ago, none of it is you. So why do we continue to allow it to be our identity in this present moment? Whatever you are right now, most likely is what you're going to be tomorrow and in a year from now and in 10 years from now. Because what you believe you are right now is creating the potential for who you will become tomorrow and in the future. So let's shift the whole idea of living in the past, what we think we are based on what we experienced, and shift it to a mindset of what you believe you are right now, what you know you are. Belief and knowing are so powerful. If you struggle with mental health, if you struggle with depression, start rewriting that story. The healing is a whole nother aspect of it, but rewriting that story, in a sense, lie to yourself. It's perfectly fine. You're the only one that it matters. You tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself. Lie to yourself about who you believe you are. And if you continue to tell yourself over and over and over and over and over again who you believe you are and truly believe you are, the future will start to shape itself around that identity. It will start to shape itself around what you believe as it becomes your reality. Let's see. Yeah, that's basically it, guys. Recreate, empower yourself through your own story. Recreate yourself as you see fit. Stop allowing the ideas and the remembrance of the past to shape your story. It's only a memory. Take charge, take power of your own self, of your own mind, and start to build and create the future you believe in. Thanks, Adam. Love the guidance. Hope you guys have gotten, this was kind of a more of a teaching show today than anything. I just really wanted to go over this whole concept, this whole idea of, creating our reality versus living in the past. And they all play a role here. But we have to get out of living in the past, and we have to just view the past as what it was. Embrace it, love yourself, accept it, forgive yourself, be honest with yourself, believe in yourself, believe in the future of who you are and who you will become, and just move forward knowing that will come to you. The healing will come when you do the work. The healing will come when you go within and you face those perceived demons. They're not anything, they're not what you believe them to be. They have no real power over us. They only have a perceived power, because we give them that. We give our memories that perception of power. They have no real power over us. They are only a thought. And if you can replace those thoughts that control us into empowering thoughts and beliefs that guide us, you can become unstoppable. You can heal yourself. You can heal so many people around you. Your presence, your strength will guide others to want to become like you, want to do what you've done. They want to learn how you healed yourself, how you overcame that abuse, how you overcame that trauma, how you healed from such a tragedy in your life. Turn that tragedy into your biggest success, into your biggest win. Turn that trauma into the greatest moment in your life, the greatest thing that could have ever happened to you. Be thankful for it. Be thankful for the tragedy. I know it's hard to understand for some people, especially those that have gone through terrible, terrible things. Re-envision the most terrible thing that's happened to you from a sense of love, from a sense of purpose, and from a sense of why it happened to you, so that you can grow, you can learn to love, to give, to share, to experience more out of life. For those of us that have been near death or close to death experiences, every day is a little bit brighter than it used to be. Embrace that. Embrace your life with a new sense of purpose, a new sense of joy, a new sense of passion. You're finding yourself now. When you start down this journey of healing, it's a journey of rediscovery, of remembering who you are, what you are, why you're here. We're here to help one another get through this. Life's not easy. Life is meant to be difficult until it's not. Let me say that one more time. Life is meant and designed to be difficult until we learn that it is not. It's not difficult. It's only our minds. It's only our perception of it that make it difficult. It's all put in front of us for a reason. Discover that reason. Once you do, the world will change. That's all I got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this show. Leave some comments. Like it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here, the Mental Health Warriors. You can listen to them on Spotify. You can hear the episodes here on YouTube, Facebook, I think Apple Music as well. So be sure to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave some great comments. If you had anything impactful from this, leave it in the comment box so I can respond and we can have a chat. I'd love to hear from you guys. So thanks for tuning in. Adam, as always, love you, brother. Keep up the good work. Keep spreading the word and awareness on mental health. That's what we're here to do. And Until next time, everybody, I love you. Stay blessed. And remember to always ask yourself, what reality are you choosing to create today? Bye now.